Welcome to the Morantz Podcast. I'm Ashley, and today we have a very special guest, Harold Morantz, the owner of Morantz Custom Cabinetry, a premier cabinet firm in Lauderdale, Florida. Whether you're planning a full kitchen remodel or just considering a few updates, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Before we jump into the conversation, I want to remind our listeners that kitchen remodeling is not just about aesthetics, it's also about creating a space that works for your lifestyle. There are so many decisions to make, from layout and materials to the timeline, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. That's why we're here today, to get expert advice straight from the source. Harold, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Let's dive right in. So, Harold, when homeowners are thinking about remodeling their kitchen, what's the first step they should take?
The first step they should take is to hire a designer or architect or contractor, depending on whether they're building a new home or they're renovating an existing home, to be able to give them the total picture of what would be involved, the time frame, pricing, etc. We would be, as cabinet makers, we would supply the cabinets for the project. And of course, they are free to call us as well at the beginning to come see our showroom, to see the types of materials available. But first, the first things first is the designer, architect, or contractor.
And my next question is about the timeline. So, how long does a typical kitchen remodel take, and how should homeowners prepare for that timeline?
That depends a lot on the client. If they are here in Florida, many people are snowbirds, and the planning stages can take quite a while because if they are not on site, they are relying on the resources of many other people. Here in particular in South Florida, permits do take time. If it's a condo, it'll take longer than a home. And the hiring of contractors and other trades, you have to be here to do it. Or if you're hiring a design build person, then they will be handling all those things. Our general framework from the time we get an order to the time we deliver it can be anywhere from 6 to 14 weeks, depending again on how busy we are at the time and how long they are planning in advance for their project.
And also, balancing aesthetics and functionality is always a challenge, as you know. So, how do you achieve that balance?
Basically, once we find out what the client is, the type of style that they are looking for, we then have them come to the showroom and look at the different types of cabinets that we make. Most of our cabinetry is flat slab European style cabinetry. We don't do traditional kitchens with large crown moldings. Here in South Florida, the modern sleek look is the most popular. And the functionality of the kitchen has to be integrated into the design so that the client makes the best use of the space they have, at the same time it looking attractive. And there are many options there for materials and design. Most kitchens today, for example, clients like to have pull-out drawers on the bottoms. Some clients today don't like to have upper cabinets at all, and then the pull-out drawers hold their dishes and and everything as well. So design and functionality definitely have to go together, and that's what we're experienced at.
And open concept kitchens are popular these days, so I'm curious about your thoughts on that. What's your advice for those deciding between an open concept and a traditional layout?
I think the option really depends on the family and their lifestyle. There are people who want to have a more formal kitchen or formal dining room where they don't want the kitchen to be exposed to the guests that are there. There are other people who prefer to have an open plan. If you're a casual type of person, you'll like to have a large island open to the rest of the family room. Many people today do great rooms that have the kitchen in one side, then the TV section and family room opposite, large island with seating on the back of the island. That's a very, very casual dining experience or eating experience. And the guests are often even invited to help out in the kitchen not to wash dishes, of course, but to be part of the action. And at the same time, whoever is doing the cooking is also available to join conversations. So the open plan is very casual. But if somebody's looking for a very formal dining room, then with lots of glass exposed silver and china, and the people that are coming in like low lighting, a kitchen needs some decent, good, strong lighting to work in. If it was part of a formal dining room, it wouldn't work. So it really depends on the client. And of course, some clients have enough money to have both, to have a very, very large family room kitchen, especially in large brand new homes. Condos, you don't often have as much of an option, but in large homes, people often today have a huge ground floor, great room with a kitchen, and there's still a formal dining room 30 feet away that the food can be where everybody could eat. So it depends on the lifestyle of the family.
Yeah, it really depends on how you use your space. And when it comes to cabinetry, which is your thing, so how do you help clients choose the right style and finish?
They basically come into my showroom many times before they even come in. We like to pre-qualify what the client is interested in, because all they have to do is go onto house.com or Pinterest. There are many design websites today that people can look at, and they get inspiration pictures, and they send us the inspiration pictures so that we get an idea of the style they're looking for, and then we work from there. But I can offer within the modern range of cabinetry, we can do high gloss whites, but we can also do very exotic veneers with a totally different look, still having the same function. So when the client brings us those photos and pictures and gets that inspiration, it gives us a head start. If they're working with a designer, of course, then they're doing that with the designer, not with us. And then they'll still come into the shop with a designer. Designers have experience, of course, in designing cabinetry. They may also have a lot of experience in what the colors and ideas are available, but we also get a huge number of samples that designers can't always carry. And even sometimes when designers come, and even experienced ones, they often say, "Oh, I've never seen that product. Can you get that for us?" And I say, "Of course. I have it in my showroom to sell it," and we expand the horizon of the possibilities.
So your showroom offers a lot of different cabinet types.
Yeah, we don't actually have different cabinets themselves, but because the interiors of the cabinets in most kitchens are fairly the same. We might offer a plywood interior or a textured melamine interior, depending on what the client wants. But the exteriors are the important parts. And yeah, that could be anywhere from rosewood veneer at $1,000 a sheet to a high gloss acrylic at $200 a sheet. So there's a lot and of course the looks are very, very different. And that I have all those samples in my showroom. And of course, I have a wide range of pictures since I've been in business for 44 years. I have a lot of kitchens, and not only kitchens, but wall units and photos to show people of what those products look finished.
And should people book an appointment with you to come to the showroom?
Yes, yeah. I'm the showroom is part of the shop. I mean, it's out, in the same building, and I am often on the road seeing clients either in their homes, on site with architects or designers or contractors, and I need to have an appointment made so that I'm sure that I'm here to meet the client.
And everyone can always book an appointment with Harold using their website, and we will link it down below in the show notes. So my next question is appliances. Appliances can really enhance the kitchen's functionality and style. So how do you guide clients in selecting the right ones?
Well, the clients basically need to first decide if they want the appliances to be there but not be seen. So many appliances today, especially the higher end European appliances, in terms of refrigerators and dishwashers, warming drawers can all be paneled. So with those models they're called panel ready, and they're buying those. And as long as they send us the specs, we can include that within the design of the kitchen, because refrigerators, for instance, need different opening widths, different opening sizes, clearances to sidewalls, and things like that. So we basically either advise people we won't advise them on the brand, The brand is really up to the client. If a client has the money for a Sub-Zero, to me, no doubt it's the best. But there are certainly many other brands, Miele and Thermador and Bosch and Liebherr. There's many different appliances today. No, I'd say almost all of them can be paneled. Ovens, of course, cannot be, but dishwashers, warming drawers, and refrigerators can be paneled. And if the client doesn't want to see the appliances but wants the look of everything being all paneled, then we can do that. And then it's then the client, of course, has to look at the price range for them and if that fits into their budget.
And what about must-have features in a modern kitchen? What do you see trending?
What I see trending, it's coming up in the future. It's already available, but it is still at a very high price point. Are where there is no cooktop, where it is built into the quartz or the quartzite. It's built in under the cabinet. It's a totally clear counter cooktop where you basically put down these pads on the cooktop where you want your burners to be. And those are the parts that get hot. Those are induction. That's really an up and coming thing. It is available. People are using it. Very expensive. Otherwise, undermount sinks are certainly nicer than overmount sinks. They provide a smooth surface to just clean your counter straight into the sink. Some people have, if they party a lot, they might have 2 dishwashers to provide for a lot of people. And warming drawers are really an option, but some people like to have them. And in terms of colors change constantly, so that we go with the flow. When I go to the shows, I see what's on tap, what people like. And of course, my vendors who are selling me those materials, of course, they're way ahead of the curve on that because they're the ones that are manufacturing these materials. So we get those samples from them and we follow the trends. I get lots of trade magazines. Bottom cabinet storage has become much more important today than it used to be. People who are short don't want to have to reach up very high. Someone who's older doesn't want to have to also reach up if they have a little bit of arthritis. Bottom drawers that are full pullouts, as opposed to the traditional 2 doors that open up with a shelf inside, have really become the standard. Soft close drawers keep the cabinets lasting longer. They don't slam. And some people even have no handles on their kitchen, which gives a beautiful sleek design. That's called a Gola profile, which we use as well. And floating shelves have become very popular. Those are for people who have really beautiful dishes who want to expose them. It is a very casual look. You're not going to have your Royal Doulton china sitting on open shelves. That will be a more formal kitchen. But all these things are options. Plants on shelves are very beautiful. So the actual designs have evolved over the years and changed as society's needs have changed.
And can I ask what colors are trending in cabinetry?
Our most popular colors right now are still white, and we're using a lot of white oak, which is very popular. We've been using it in real oak veneer, and we've also been using it in oak laminates. That is still a very popular item. Right now, the mid-century modern look is also still very much in, so people are using mahogany, walnut colored, light to dark walnut colored, which is more of a mid-century modern look. They're combining it very often with white, to put maybe the island will be in one color, the cabinets will be in another. But we're doing kitchens in blue right now. It's not hot, but there's a certain demand for it. And of course, that's what I see presently as that's been my strongest demands.
And lighting is so important but often overlooked. So what do you recommend when it comes to lighting?
Well, for lighting, there's different parts of the kitchen that we have to take into account for lighting. We use pretty well as a standard item. We use under cabinet LED light strips. Those are integrated into the cabinetry. They have evolved as well from simple ones that in a few years ago where they were literally tiny little bulbs. which if you had a dark countertop, you could see the bulbs in the countertop. Now it's called cob lighting, COB lighting, where it's a continual line, much more attractive. And then there's the lighting that's being developed today for under cabinet lighting are with rheostat controls, so that you can control the color and you can control the intensity of the light, going from, let's say, K up to 5,000 K. Many people in the evening like to, if they're not really in the kitchen, but they want to go down for a glass of water or something, but they still want the kitchen to be slightly lit up, will use a very low, they'll turn the rheostat down to a very, very low setting, and have just very, very background lighting. Ceiling lighting is really more the area of the lighting people. They're more experienced with that, but the lighting certainly has to light up the counter, as well as provide the person working in the kitchen lighting from above that gives them a good amount of light and that they're not standing in a shadow. Electricians and lighting specialists are the ones that really specialize in that. One of the things I do find important is that whatever they are using in the rest of the house or in the kitchen anyway, they should tell us whether it's cool light, natural light, neutral light, warm light, so that we use the same lighting for under the cabinets as the spots so that it has an integrated look.
Yeah, and remodels don't always go as planned. So what are some unexpected challenges that often come up?
Well, unexpected challenges can be in several areas. If everything is planned well in advance and we have a contractor who knows what they're doing and all the trades are in sync. So when we do drawings or when a designer does the drawings, it's really important for all the trades to have the same drawings. That way, when we actually go to install, we're not suddenly surprised that the plumbing for the sink is in the wrong place, or the appliance electrical planning has to be planned very carefully and coordinated so that, again, we're not slowed down on site. And the rework, of course, costs the client money, or it costs the trade money, and nobody wants to have to do that. So the more a project is planned in advance, the smoother the project will go. One of the things we do, besides doing 3D drawings of all of our cabinetry, occasionally a customer will want full color renderings. And then we use an independent company. We send them our 3D drawings along with the color samples, and then they do 3D renderings. Very often those renderings look as real as the kitchen that it's going to look like. So that gives the client a good perspective of what their kitchen is going to look like, so that there's no surprises later. We also build all of our cabinetry in our plant here and set it up before we manufacture our doors to make sure, first of all, that all of our joints are correct, all of our grains are correct, all of our spacings between every door is correct. And it also provides the client with pictures during construction of all the phases, so that if anything looks unusual to them, they can bring it up then, rather than after the kitchen's installed and then they say, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And if the people are out of town, if they're snowbirds or if they're from Europe, they'll be forwarded the photos and the pictures at every stage, and that will give them a heads up on any issues that they have. Still, some clients will still not, if they're not that visual, they will not necessarily understand it, but we pretty well weed out 99% of any of those issues later on by providing the customer with open communication and photos and renderings all along the way.
Yeah, communication is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And my next question is, how do you work with homeowners who have different opinions on design choices?
Oh, I stay out of that. I married 54 years and I managed to do it by having good communication with my wife. But to tell you over 54 years that it's always been successful, I can't tell you that. And I certainly am not going to mix into a marriage. It's often husband and wife, that they're very, and sometimes the husband doesn't care at all. Sometimes the wife doesn't care at all. But in the end, all of a sudden someone pipes up, why'd you do that? I don't get involved.
Okay. And so finally, for homeowners with a limited budget, but who also still want a stylish kitchen, what advice would you give?
Well, today, really, most of the material, at least the materials we're using, which are modern materials, they look beautiful, but they are not expensive. So the styling can be done at pretty well at any price range. You don't have to have, real oak veneer book match doors, because when we do something in sheet goods of the same material, every sheet is identical. We match our grains and everything has a stylish look without going to the expense of having to match grains in a veneer form. My own kitchen is a high gloss white kitchen. I live in a condominium on the ocean, and it's not a bad sized kitchen, but it's not a full home kitchen. It's high gloss white, and we love it, and it'll last forever. And it'll never go out of style. So, and then of course we can do the same thing with different colors, but the materials themselves do not have to be expensive on the exterior of the kitchen for it to be very, very stylish. Style is not necessarily related to cost.
So Harold, I'm curious about your thoughts on framed, frameless, and inset cabinets. Can you also explain their differences?
Sure. We do not do framed cabinets. We only do frameless because that's the European way of building cabinetry. It gives you the maximum amount of space in the cabinet with the easiest way to clean it, because there's no frame that's stopping you from wiping out the cabinet. The frame cabinet, also the doors have a wider gap between them, and they are very, very expensive to manufacture, because a European box is basically 4 sides and a back, and the doors cover the complete cabinet. A framed cabinet has to have a frame added to that box, and then the doors hinged onto that frame. So it's a more costly way of working. It is still more popular in Middle America, not really used very much on either coast or in Florida. It's generally not used very much there, but there are still people that do want that. They want a more traditional look. But we don't do that type of cabinetry. Now, inset cabinetry is also part of framed cabinetry, because the door is fitting inside the frame. You do lose some space in your cabinet because the frame extends into the open box, and then the doors are inserted. Again, it is not done in modern cabinetry with flat slab cabinetry. It's done with raised panel doors, shakers, or different types of raised panels. It's a very, very traditional look, very, very common in English bespoke kitchens, and it's relatively expensive because there's a lot of finishing involved. You can't do that with a laminate. It can only be done with something that's sprayed, and then the whole box has to be taped off and sprayed so that the spray doesn't get inside the box, into the tracks. It's a very, very, very traditional, old English bespoke way of building cabinetry. Beautiful, nothing wrong with it. I love it. I just don't offer it.
So Harold, can you please give homeowners who are starting to or thinking about starting to remodel their kitchen final advice?
Well, the best advice is to look at design sites, either Houzz or, like I say, Pinterest. There are many sites. Wayfair sells more furniture, but very often the kitchen is being done at the same time as the rest of the house is being done. So you want to basically have everything coordinated in the nicest way. I would always recommend to a customer, if they're spending the kind of money to renovate a complete house or even a kitchen, to get professional designers and have them do that and have them do the design work. We are not in that part of the trade. Even a general contractor, unless they are also a designer, they'll be able to tell you how much it's cost to take the walls down, put the walls up. They'll tell you whether they can lower the ceiling. They'll tell you whether the fire codes are okay, if the sprinklers will be in the way. But a kitchen designer, is really the one who is trained in all those aspects to be able to do the total coordination. And that would be after looking at styles, looking at designs, looking at what you'd like. Because again, even the designer, if you go to they'll say, well, what do you want? And so it's better for a client to first have some vision in their own minds of what they want to have. And that gives the designer a more directed approach to how to design something for that client.
Absolutely, it makes sense. So no matter where you are in your remodeling journey, taking the time to plan and work with the right professionals can make all the difference. So for our listeners, if you want to redo your cabinets or remodel them, and want to learn more about what Morantz Custom Cabinetry has to offer, be sure to visit their website and give them a call. Their team is always happy to answer questions and provide guidance to help make your dream kitchen a reality. Thanks again for joining us, Harold, and thank you
You're
to our
welcome.
listeners for tuning in to the Morantz podcast. Until next time, stay inspired and keep working towards the home of your dreams.
Thank you.